India or China? Who will rule the future economy? These two nations have been vying for global dominance, but the stakes have never been higher. Can India, the rising star, catch up to China's economic powerhouse? Stick around, because the answer may reshape the global order as we know it. Let's rewind to where it all began, so you will get an idea how the future economy of these two giants would be. In 1978, China opened its doors to the world under Deng Xiaoping, inviting foreign direct investments that transformed its economy. India, however, waited until 1991 to liberalize its markets, held back by political challenges and economic stagnation. Those 13 years gave China a massive head start. By the 2000s, China's GDP had already crossed $1 trillion, leaving India lagging behind at less than $500 billion. China's early focus on manufacturing and exports allowed it to dominate global markets, while India was still dealing with red tape and bureaucratic delays. China's GDP in 2000s were as follows. In 2000, $1.2 trillion. In 2005, $2.3 trillion. In 2010, $6.1 trillion. Meanwhile, India's GDP in 2000s were as follows. In 2000, $476 billion. In 2005, $834 billion. In 2010, $1.7 trillion. China's economy grew at an average annual rate of 10.4% during the decade. Meanwhile, India's economy grew at an average annual rate of 7.4% in the same decade. By the end of the 2000s, China's GDP was more than 3.5 times larger than India's. China's secret weapon? Infrastructure. China spent 8 to 9% of its GDP annually on infrastructure projects, including roads, railways, ports, airports, and urban facilities. China invested heavily in its foundation. India, on the other hand, spends significantly less, around 4 to 5% of GDP, leading to slower progress with underdeveloped roads, power shortages, and sluggish approvals. This gave China a competitive edge that India is still trying to catch up to. China boasts the world's largest high-speed rail network, covering over 42,000 kilometers, connecting major cities at speeds up to 350 kilometers per hour. India has no operational high-speed rail yet. The Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project, started in 2017, has faced delays due to land acquisition, political opposition, and bureaucratic hurdles. Early investments in power plants, including renewable energy, ensured consistent electricity for industries and households. Its power generation capacity is over 2,600 gigawatts, nearly 4 times India's. Despite progress in electrification, India still faces challenges like power cuts, inadequate generation capacity, and high transmission losses. By 2010, China was receiving $185 billion in FDI annually. India's FDI inflow in 2010 was $27 billion, far lower than China's. But everything changed in 2014 with the Modi government. Initiatives like Make in India and increased foreign investments gave India's economy a much-needed boost. India overtook China as the world's fastest-growing major economy in 2015. India's GDP growth rate increased, peaking at 8.2% in 2016 to 17. Driven by strong domestic consumption, investment, and government reforms. Post-2016, growth moderated due to demonetization in 2016 and the initial implementation challenges of GST in 2017. By 2019, growth slowed to 4.2% due to weak private investment, rural distress, and a global economic slowdown. The COVID-19 pandemic caused a historic contraction of -7.3% in 2020 to 21, followed by a recovery to 8.7% in 2021 to 22 due to government stimulus and rising demand. The production-linked incentive schemes were launched to boost domestic manufacturing in sectors like electronics, pharmaceuticals, and textiles. These schemes attracted investments from global companies like Apple, Samsung, and many others. India became a top FDI destination post-2014 due to investor-friendly policies. FDI reached a record $84 billion in 2021 to 22. India improved its global ranking from 142 in 2014 to 63 in 2020 by simplifying regulations and processes. Initiatives like UPI revolutionized digital payments, making India one of the largest digital payment markets globally. India's GDP recently crossed the $4 trillion mark, a significant milestone. But it is still far behind China, which surpassed this level in the mid-2000s. Here's a comparison of where India and China currently stand in terms of their economies. India's economy in 2023 to 24 is $4.0 to $4.2 trillion, making it the fifth largest economy globally. India reached this milestone in 2023, driven by a robust services sector, rising domestic consumption, and digital transformation. India is growing at a steady 6 to 7%, making it the fastest growing major economy in the world. Meanwhile, China's economy in 2023 to 24 is $18 to $19 trillion, the second largest economy globally. China crossed the 4 trillion GDP mark in 2005 and continued exponential growth due to its manufacturing and export dominance. China's growth has slowed to 4 to 5% recently, owing to a maturing economy, declining exports, and domestic challenges like debt. India's per capita income is approximately $2,400 in 2023, indicating lower income levels for its 1.4 billion population. China's per capita income is approximately $12,700 in 2023. Reflecting a higher standard of living due to decades of rapid economic growth and industrialization. India's slower GDP growth compared to China can partly be attributed to systemic issues like the caste-based reservation system in government jobs, brain drain, income inequality, and population challenges. Devesh Kapoor's book, The Other 1% Indians in America, sheds light on some of these factors, particularly the role of caste, talent migration, and economic inequality. Meanwhile, China's growth has been driven by a merit-based focus on skills and productivity. Let's break this down. The caste-based reservation system in India allocates a percentage of government jobs, educational seats, and promotions to certain social groups. While designed to address historical inequalities, this system often prioritizes identity over merit, potentially leading to inefficiency in public administration and institutions. The reservation system creates a talent misallocation problem, as some highly skilled individuals are excluded from opportunities, leading to frustration and migration abroad. China does not have a caste or reservation system. Instead, it focuses on meritocracy and skill-based advancement, particularly in public jobs, education, and industries. The Gaokao system, a national college entrance exam, ensures that only the most capable students progress to top universities, creating a competitive talent pool. India's Production-Linked Incentive, or PLI scheme, is attracting giants like Apple. But here's the catch. Most components are still made in China, with India focusing on assembly. This dependency limits India's ability to become a true manufacturing hub. India is assembling smartphones, but 70 to 80% of components, such as chips, displays, and batteries, are imported from China. India lacks semiconductor fabrication facilities, making it reliant on China, Taiwan, and South Korea for chips. India is aware of these challenges and has initiated steps to address them. India has launched a $10 billion incentive scheme to attract semiconductor manufacturers. Companies like Micron and Vedanta Foxconn have announced plans to set up chip-making plants in India. Foreign investors flock to China because of its ease of doing business. Companies can set up operations within days in China, while in India, it could take months. Simplifying these processes could be a game changer for India. India is projected to be the fastest growing economy in the world, with annual GDP growth expected to exceed 6%. With a young population and rising global stature, India has the potential to outpace many developed nations. From its booming tech industry to renewable energy initiatives, India is slowly but surely carving its place on the global stage. But will it be enough to challenge China's dominance? Only time will tell. As the world watches this economic race unfold, one thing is clear. India has the potential to achieve greatness. But will it ever catch up to China, or will it forge its own unique path to success? Now that you've seen the race between India and China, here's your next question. Why is Narendra Modi receiving so many international honors? Click on the screen to find out. And don't forget to comment. Who do you think will rule the future economy? Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.